Welcome back to the Coleman Nation. I'm your host, Michael Coleman. Today, we've got a really fun episode planned for you. We're going to be talking about a company that's called Where Our Families Train, also known as WOFT. And it was a really, really exciting adventure. I'm excited to get with you guys on it. Stay tuned. You know, over the last few years, to be honest, I was thinking about the concept of being a great protector of one's family and being able to do things like just be able to survive if something were to happen. I'm not particularly one of the, a survivalist prepper, but I started thinking to myself, man, is it important to be able to do things like farming? Is it important to be able to, have self-defense? And the answer to these questions, and even more so today than ever before, the answer to that question is yes. I think that these are extremely important skills. And so I just had an opportunity after we moved from Los Angeles out to Florida. The environment is very, very different. It is one giant, no 2A sort of situation. You got to have the permits. And I was talking to my friends who were in the sheriff's department, and it was like, they're not approving any permits for carry. And then you come out to Florida, and now it's constitutional carry here. And so we just started thinking, well, we need to start getting some training. We need to start to understand. I've always been someone that's really big on freedoms and especially, the freedoms afforded to us in the U.S. Constitution. So I was just specifically with in terms of gun control, I thought, you know what? Gun control is really important. I should know how to control and be competent with a firearm. And so that was one of the things that we as a family decided was important. And so being immersed in a state that has a much, much different point of view than the state I was just coming from, leaving California, coming to Florida, I thought, okay, I need to start getting some training. I need to understand, the different types of firearms that are out there. And one of the things that had happened is, like, during the course of some of the lessons, we went to some classes, something had come up where someone had said, you should go check out this place called Where Our Families Train, also known as WOFT. And it actually used to stand for West Orlando Firearms Training. They went through a rebranding, and I thought, man, this is awesome, because the fact of the matter is that I think that people want to, and men especially in today's environment, is that we want to be great protectors of our family. We want to be able to be the ones that, are great protectors and providers, and being able to be strong in the capacity of being a great father and provider in our households. And so WOFT was like giving me that extra layer of confidence to be able to not only be a great protector of my own family, but then also, being able to figure out what the roles are for my wife as far as being present and aware of surroundings and scenarios. And, our daughter's only 6 months old, but ultimately I want her to be able to, to defend herself, from a sometimes dangerous world. And so WOFT was a place that, having gone to myself, I said, wow, I have a really big vision of being able to, of what I can be as a strong, role model within my own family. I'm very, very excited about, the things that they're going to be able to afford me to do, and the skill sets that they're going to work on with me in order to be able to, to provide that, level of protection, competency, and awareness that I think my family deserves. So let me talk to you a little bit about what WOFT does and how the program sort of unfolds. First of all, you can just register for one of their classes. They're anywhere from 2 to 3 days, typically speaking, and they're going to go through a bunch of training. Philip Tapino, who's the guy that is sort of the mad scientist mastermind behind WOFT, He's brilliant. I mean, he's just absolutely brilliant. He'll go through and talk to you about the story of the tigers and the attacks on the people of India. Is that there were these people out in the rural areas of India, and they would get attacked by tigers, and it was off the charts that they were just the number of casualties being caused by these tigers. And he said, I don't want to steal his thunder. It's, going there and hearing him tell these stories is phenomenal. But he said, what did they do in order to be able to cut the casualties down, to almost none? Is that the people in the villages just wound up wearing masks face the other way. So that's all they would do is just take a mask, like a Halloween mask, and turn it facing, on the back of their heads. And so they could go about their, farming and their regular routines. And tigers will not attack you if you're facing them, right? And so by doing that, that little bit of like pushing back on a predator and showing that you're present, even if it's just for show, was sort of the catalyst that caused him to say, you know what, I want to be able to how can I help people that would otherwise, be more considered prey as opposed to a predator, and give them a fighting chance in a sometimes dangerous world. And I thought that philosophy was just phenomenal. I thought it was incredible, and so what are some of the things that WOFT trains you on? What are some of the scenarios that they'll walk you through? So one of the classes that they'll do is they'll do a full certification on concealed carry. Now, that's not such an issue today, but the training is. I think that the training that's afforded in what used to be, the concealed carry permit process, I think the things that you're going to learn in that is it will always be important. The fundamentals of firearm training is very, very important. So they can train you on that. Whatever it is that your firearm of choice, they will actually, train you on that, which I think is phenomenal. They have a 100-yard bay and a 50-yard range so that you can do everything from basic rifle training to handgun training, and their instructors are off the charts. I'm going to tell you, the guys that I had, these are the people that they have that are training you. They're usually on the weekends, and these people are professionals, top tier performers in their disciplines. The trainers that were there for me was Jordan was my primary trainer in firearms training, and he was phenomenal. He could hone in on things that were, okay, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing wrong, and he could coach with immediate results. I found that the coaching that I received from Jordan, from Buck and Diana, just on the firearms training was incredible. And if you got nothing else but just the basic fundamentals of the training that they provided, on the 50-yard range and the 100-yard range, you would see remarkable improvements regardless of what your skill set level was, And so I would tell you that would be one of the things that you would want to be able to engage in, is that. So that's one, is having the different ranges that are there. The next sort of scenario that they have there is they have something called coffee shop. And the great thing about how they prepare each one of these areas, they have these different staging areas for training. And this one with coffee shop, it's literally a coffee shop. In fact, it's where we had meals every day. And so it was where we'd have, lunch, dinner, breakfast, all that kind of stuff would be prepared in an actual coffee shop. But then after the meals were done, then what happens is that the instructors would come in and they'd set up the coffee shop for various scenarios. And a lot of times there's scenarios where it's like, some sort of a domestic violence, starts to ensue. There is some of the ones that we had were robbery scenario, an abduction scenario. They had one where it was a couple is fighting and it gets out of control, and suddenly someone pulls a weapon and you're like, what do you do? Most of the time, what is it? It's disengage. It's figure out ways to de-escalate. And I thought that that was really, really incredible, because just to be given the, the confidence, like, look, hey, it's okay to like disengage. It doesn't mean that you're a coward. It means that you're going to actually, step back and keep your family safe. So what were some of the scenarios? You hear gunshots in the other room. What are you going to do? Right? Is that you go, oh, I was going to bring my family in there. Hey, we're not going to go in there now. And that was a perfectly legitimate response, is that you go, wow, I can hear there's danger. I can hear there's something on the other side of that door. Let's just take the family and move to safety quickly, instead of like, hey, let's be the hero. Let's charge into danger. There's something there's blind. And to play out these scenarios was absolutely incredible, and gave me a lot of confidence and certainty. So that these are all customized. So you can say, hey, well, listen, I want to be able to be in that sort of a situation. What do I do in that situation? And any type of situation that you can think of that you've ever seen on TV or any of that kind of stuff, they will go through that. Another thing that they have is that they have like a gas station set up, so that you can actually, like, hey, I'm filling up my gas. Like, what do I do in a situation where I'm getting accosted by someone or even attacked? And I was like, wow, to put you in that moment, I got to tell you, there are moments where you have a tremendous amount of adrenaline in these situations. So one of the guys that I had a chance to train with, and especially during Coffee Shop, and we actually had a couple of sessions together, was Braden Sorbo. And Braden, if you haven't had a chance to check out his content, he's got a tremendous, awesome podcast. I think that he's got some really, really great stuff on, relationships, on being a great role model as, a male role model in today's society. He's got some wonderful stuff. But he and I had a chance to train, and it was great. So we had, we had to basically, we're just standing in line, buying coffees, buying some snacks and whatnot. And then a robbery takes place. And so what were we going to do in order to be able to, to de-escalate? And, and so we actually wound up getting into a bit of a tussle. And so it was actually really, really cool, because we had a chance to be able to see, like, how am I going to react, and how is he going to react, and how do you react with someone that is really a stranger, and how do you read that? Like, is this person that's a stranger, is this another aggressor, or is this someone that's trying to de-escalate as well? And so, shout out to Braden. He did a great job. And, I really felt like we had a chance to be able to, to bring some order to an otherwise chaotic scene. And by the way, there's probably, since I went there last year, I know that Philip upgraded a ton of other stuff on the campus, but it's a 20-acre campus, and anything that you could possibly imagine. If you told him, hey, listen, I want to be able to, to do this type of training, he'd be like, you know what, let me figure out how to do that. And so that was really great. But another one is like, setting up your home, close quarters, sort of engagement as well. It was another thing that they do over there. And so that was pretty awesome. I'm going to save the best one for last, because I also have some video footage from that one, and I'll give you that as well. But then they also have very specific stuff where they're doing, some video training on like, okay, well, if this were the situation, what do you do? How would you handle this? What would you do in this situation? And so we're going through. And so it's not just a matter of like you're engaged in a practical application, but then you're also seeing things. And then he's going through like different studies and stuff like that. And I got to be honest with you, the little bit that we talked about, some of the theory and some of the concepts of why it's important to train on these things, I thought the balance was great. I wanted to be in a situation where it was a lot of, application, engagement, one-on-one, actually, applying the things that we learned. And so the theory to practical balance, I thought was very, very good because it was very immersive. The other thing that they did, one of the workshops that I did not get a chance to engage in, was the hand-to-hand combat. And that was one that I really wanted to do. But I also was like, hey, listen, I'm a little nervous about, carrying and all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to get some of the fundamentals in place. that would, make me more confident, with firearms. So that was the primary sort of focus of the curriculum that was designed for me. But there is a guy, his name's Ben, and Ben is one of the hand-to-hand combat guys. And I was like, we were chatting, we went out to dinner, and I was chatting with a couple of the other instructors, and they're like, yeah, Ben's the most dangerous man on the planet. And I was like, well, what does that mean? It's like, and Jordan, one of the firearms instructors, he was like, yeah, I'd fight Ben from like 100 yards away. It was like, this is guy's a football field away and nobody wants to engage him, right? And he was like, oh yeah. And so then we were out in the parking lot of the steakhouse, and and Ben was just kind of showing a couple of different things. And immediately I was like, yeah, this is a guy I would never want to engage in. It's like, and there was I don't know if you guys, there was a book in the 70s called Shibumi about this assassin that could basically, kill you with anything from like a straw to like a rolled up magazine. And he was like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, I could do all of that stuff, like whatever it is. I could, piece of paper, yep, you're dead. Pencil eraser, yep, you're dead. And I was like, this is hilarious, right? And so it was that was one of the guys that nobody wanted to mess with. And so that was pretty funny, but very inspirational. That was one of the things. I feel like the confidence on hand-to-hand, once I get that in there, that's going to be pretty cool. And then also just, basic martial arts training and stuff like that. There was some very good defensive stuff that I know that some of the people that were in my class that were in that they came back and they were like, dude, off the charts, being able to, immediately engage in self-defense is awesome. So the last one that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, and we'll show some video of that here in a second, is low light. And so low light, what is low light? It's a giant warehouse that they set up for you. And if you give them scenarios, hey, listen, I've got my car out in the driveway, or it's in a parking lot at a restaurant, and so they'll even pull your car in. So if you bring your car, if you happen to live in Florida, or I don't know if you wanted to ship your car out there, like they will actually make it so that, like how do you utilize your own personal vehicle as sort of a defensive deterrent in sort of a self-defense situation. And I thought that was pretty cool. But if you don't, then they've got cars that they'll just pull into the garage. And so let me set the stage for you, and then we'll show you the video. Is that the instructors go in and they say, this is the scenario. This is what we're going to do. And they'll post people in certain areas, behind closed doors, behind trash cans, and in various spots. I'm not going to give you that because they did some surprise things that they said that they came up with on the moment. I don't want to, steal the element of surprise if you decide to go. But then what happens is that I'm standing outside and then I go in, and you don't know whether it's going to be dark, whether it's going to be light. Usually to start it off, like this is my first time there, and they started it off where there was, it was lit, but they'll turn off all the lights, and then they have these, sort of fake starlight, sort of like it gets very, well, it's low light, right? And so you don't have very much, you can't see anything, and so it was pretty awesome. So I walk in, and I'm going to tell you, half the time, it's just you walking to your car and raising your awareness of what's around you. Like they'll trick you and not even give you any engagement, right? They'll just be like, sort of unsavory looking characters kind of noodling around your car. And you just get in your car and then quote unquote drive away, and then they reset. On one of them that they did, they were like, look, they had talked about it, that they wanted to give me a situation that I was not going to be able to get out of. And so they had multiple attackers from multiple different angles. The firearm that you see, it feels and responds like an actual pistol. And they have different models. I forget what the name of it is, but it's like it does shoot a projectile, but it's got paint on the end so that you can kind of see what it does. It'll hurt. it'll hurt if you wind up, sort of getting shot with this paint cover projectile, but the responsiveness and the feel is exactly like you would expect from a pistol. And so they're gonna put it where you carry and allow you to engage. And so that was the scenario of what had happened. And you can kind of see here how I respond. It's not a very long video. It's only a couple of minutes.
Hey man, give me money.
Hey, back up. Oh my God, you just shot that dude. Shot this guy. Oh my God.
Why you gonna show me?
Oh my God. You just shot that dude. What the hell, man? Oh my God. What did he do to you, dude?
Dude, he was trying to rob me. He had a knife. He was attacking me.
Oh, man. See that?
He had a knife right there. He's got a knife right there. He's got a knife. He's got a knife. I was defending myself.
Dude, he shot somebody, man. Oh, that's messed up. You gotta kill this guy.
Back up.
Oh, man. He's leaving, kid. Leave. Yeah, dude, that's it. There.
So anyways, as you can see, it was, they had decided that they were going to get me. One of the guys that was coming in from, sort of the doorway at the upper right, he was like, he goes, man, if you didn't turn and look right when you did, it's almost like you had eyes, in the back of your head, he was going to jump on me and try and take me down and see how I was going to respond to that. So as much as you want to be able to engage in, they'll totally be able to customize that for you. And they're going to really keep you on your toes. They encourage you to bring your kids right now. Obviously little kids, it's not going to be, they're not going to processing what's happening might be a little bit difficult for a really small child to do. And one of the things that's really important is that they're going to engage in a way that is non-traumatic, like they don't want kids to walk out of there completely traumatized by the experience. But what they said is, you know what? How are they going to react? On some of the YouTube videos that you guys have probably seen is like, someone comes up to a mom in the park and says, hey, your kid's going to go with me. Do you mind if I show you, like that your kids are not prepared for an abduction scenario? And the moms are like, there's no way my kid's going to go with you. And the guy walks up and was like, hey, you want to see my puppy? Here, let's just go over here. And then boom, kid's gone. Like, that's it. Just like that. Right. And so the parents that were there, they brought their kids, and it was pretty amazing because the kids were actually older. It was like, I think over 10. I think it was one was 10 and one was 13, and then the other kids were like adult kids. But there was one couple that brought their young kids there, 10, 13 or somewhere in that range. And they were like, we've talked about this with our kids. There's no way that they're going to, go with a stranger. They're going to, and, it's going to be stranger danger, run away. Like that was, no, 100% did not work out that way. And I was sitting next to the parents, and, and so this, this guy that they had comes up and was like, you know what? Hey, is this your car? Why is the car here? And it's like, just turn and walk away. Like the parents are like, just turn and walk away. Why are you talking? Why are you engaging with this person who's like obviously super aggressive? And this guy was a celebrity, and it's just someone, hey, isn't your dad so and so? And it was like, and the kids are like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? And they're like, just walk away. Just run back into the quote unquote restaurant. The scenario was go to the car. Your dad says, go to the car, get the phone. Right? And so the kids were like, I got to get the phone. My dad told me to get the phone, right? And so it's like, no, like reassess the situation. So it was really very comfortable. It's like, okay, so what should you have done in this situation? Okay, let's replay that. And so it's just giving a little bit of confidence in these situations. I mean, I know as a kid, what I would have done, I would have been like, oh, these are adults. I have to trust them because I'm surrounded by trustworthy adults. You can't make that differentiation. And so it was really great to see the kids sort of like flip that switch and go, oh, these are people that I don't know. And to see them go from like engaging to like being able to speak up. I don't know you. Go away. Like really, it was like night and day difference to be able to prep these kids, for what could be a very, serious and dangerous engagement in real life, to play that out in a scenario. I mean, I couldn't imagine how much confidence that would give you as a kid in order to be able to know, like, this is how I'm supposed to react in these situations. And so that was very, very powerful and very, very exciting. The other thing too, that I'll tell you, besides all of the different scenarios that you can do, is that they've got, corporate events. You can bring whole teams of people. That's one of the things that we're planning on doing, is bringing teams of people. They've got a helicopter landing pad, and so I was like, well, I don't have a helicopter, I'm not really into helicopters or anything like that, but they have everything for everybody from like big money managers to, A-list celebrities flying in there in order to be able to take classes and increase their skill set. And man, I'll be honest with you, going to WOFT is a humbling experience. Absolutely. You think that you got it all figured out. You think you know how you would react in certain situations. And when you're thrust into those situations where they're really pressing you, I mean, they're putting you up to the point. They even have these things which are they're electric knives, so they won't cut you. But if they touch you on skin, it gives you an absolutely huge electric shock, right? And so that there's actual danger. It's not like, oh, this is just a play scenario. It's like, no, if you aren't present with the things that they're teaching you, like you're gonna get zinged. You're gonna have a little bit of the pain response that's gonna make you have a second thought about pulling your punches in a certain situation, which I thought was very, very was excellent to add to the realism of it. And so these were it was just an all the way awesome experience. And by the time that I was done, I did feel like I leveled up, but at the same time, I also felt like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. There's so many different types of things that I want to be able to learn. It was almost like an amusement park for adults that, really feel like, wow, this is going to give you a good adrenaline punch. But then at the same time, you walk away with an increased skill set and increased certainty. I thought that was just a completely awesome situation. So one of the things that I also want to make a point of was just the level of training on safety is second to none. Every single day, and in fact, every session, it was reviewed what the safety protocols were, and it was like every time that we would go in, there was a little safety briefing, and it was just like it was the thing that was at the absolute forefront of every single class and every single training and engagement. And so even that alone was like off the charts. They're always checking, every weapon. They're making sure that you know exactly what to do. And by the way, if there's any dangerous conduct, you're bounced out. You're bounced. I mean, there's just like, okay, you're not going to be doing that, especially in relationship to, the firearm stuff. It was just like, no, if there's any safety violations, the class is over. That's it. You're done. Right. We'll go do something else that's going to teach you some defensive stuff or whatever. But especially in those classes, I thought that the care and the protocols in place for, safe conduct was just off the charts awesome. Spouses, there was a lot of spouses that were there that were not there to engage. They were there to, watch the kids, to kind of hang out, just kind of like observe. There's all these observation points on the campus. So the spouses would go around. But here's what I found is that many times that the spouses were there, and sometimes even there were younger girls that were there that were like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, that's not something for me. And literally by the time they were done, they were like, oh, can I jump into this class? Can I do this, as well? And so I think that that's one of the real special things about WOFT is it's such a family-friendly environment that as soon as you go there, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is, like you really feel that there's something special there. And I think that the fact that they welcome families and that it's a very, it's a no pressure environment. There's nobody that's, running around. There's nobody that's like, pounding their chest and, like any of this, sort of like I'm better or bigger than anybody else. I mean, you're working with some of the best professionals in the world are training there. And the fact that it was such a place that the families felt like they could engage, like as the program unfolded, I thought was a really, really amazing sort of unintended feature. The culture of the team there is just really, really accepting and pretty amazing. One other thing about WOFT, and I'm going to tell you this is pretty cool, is that they give you these cool jerseys. I decided to wear the jersey on here. I don't know if you can see it. There it is, right? Coleman. Right, they give you these cool jerseys. We the people on the back. It says Coleman Nation, and so they gave us these really cool jerseys. So I think that that's an extra added bonus. As we wrap up this episode, I just want to find out, are these things, things that are important to you? Do you think that self-defense and being able to protect your family are important skill sets that we need to work on in society today? Would you consider ever doing a program like WOFT? Have you ever done programs like WOFT, sort of self-defense stuff within your own, town or your own backyard? I know that there's lots of different ones that are out there. I'm going to be doing another review on one of them, which is defense strategies. I also had a chance to get some lessons with them on the West Coast when I was out there. So we'll talk about those guys in another episode. Another thing is, why would you consider that this would be an important service? Like, why would you want to even go to a program like WOFT? And ultimately, what do you feel like you could learn if you went out there? What would be the most important thing to you? Combat, close quarters combat, hand-to-hand, firearms training, combination of all of it, preparedness stuff, home invasion, robbery, any of those types of things important to you? What would be the things that's kind of at the top of your list? So, hey, if you like this content and this is something that was valuable to you, make sure that you give us a like. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any future episodes, make sure that you subscribe and ensure that you turn on notifications so that when we do release new content, that you're the first person to know. And thanks again for tuning in to the Coleman Nation.